And, it's kind of like, I feel like he's the captain driving the Titanic into the ocean. So the Fed has to stop and just look at the data. I said it before, I'll say it again. The market, this equity market and the bond market move overnight on the Fed's moves, but the real economy takes time. And people, jobs, investment decisions will be put off. Capital spending will slow. The tech stocks are, you mentioned earlier, Facebook is giving up some space in New York. I mean, they're going to cause unbelievable calamities if they keep up their action, and not just here.
Now, a lot of you guys have been watching previous videos of mine and expressing concerns about the economy and ultimately the safety of your jobs. If you work anywhere like Walmart, FedEx, Amazon, any grocery store, and the possibility of this recession and what Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve are doing with monetary policy, interest rates, and their goals for the U.S. job market, and how that could affect your possibility of being laid off, let go, fired, your company closing down, or in instances like FedEx being a contract company or contract employee and realizing record losses and ultimately having to close down or go out of business. Now, granted, for the big scale, large scale picture of a situation like Walmart, more than likely Walmart is going to be around to stay for quite some time. But with that being said, Walmart is actively searching for viable, innovative technological solutions to increase their sales, reduce their expenses, reduce their overhead, and maximize on profits with revenues. Now, we've already spoke about this before, that employees are the most expensive, typically, form of overhead that a company carries. And with a company like Walmart and the size that they are and the amount of employees that they have, this is definitely going to be a growing concern. Amazon would be top 2 on the list, with companies like FedEx coming up in the rear, where we have other companies like UPS that aren't quite doing so badly. But at the end of the day, we have to realize that digital technology, AI, automation, and innovation are a huge driving force for business and our economy, our GDP, globally, worldwide. And that there are companies out there, although similar to Microsoft and Intel, that just laid off a few thousand employees themselves, are solely positioning themselves for the advancement and improvement of coding, technology, automation, robotics for businesses. So with a company like Walmart, especially if you're expressing concerns, or perhaps maybe you fell within the category of the 1,458 employees who lost their job at the Walmart distribution center in south of Atlanta, Georgia, then you have to be thinking to yourself, what's next? Granted, there are other opportunities. A commenter actually mentioned on the previous video that they were laid off by Amazon, but were offered an opportunity to transfer to a different facility. Now, with that being said, that transfer would have resulted in them having an extra 1.5 hour commute, making it almost impossible to make it worthwhile for them to take that transfer, and ultimately having to be laid off, face unemployment, and seek a new job. But at the end of the day, technology is evolving. Businesses are evolving, and they're going to use technology to evolve in their business. And this is going to include increases in online sales, online orders, shipping, drone deliveries, you name it. Meanwhile, Walmart is actually working on an electric van fleet, and it would only probably be a matter of time before they have some form of automated self-driving fleet to make deliveries and things like that. But with that being said, if you want to know how to have the greatest chance of surviving this mess and the best possibility for you and your family not to get swallowed up in this and ultimately be one of the statistics from the Federal Reserve's push for a reduced economy, a shrunken balance sheet, the 1.2 million jobs lost, then you may want to stick around to the end of this video to hear what I have to say about that.
So the chain reaction of Powell's, I'd say, backward-looking data. I mean, you don't have to look anywhere. We wiped out $36 trillion of global wealth in this correction. I mean, that is going to have knock-on effects, not to mention the cracks that are developing in real estate, the construction projects that will be halted, banks loans that can't be refinanced because the banks are freaking out because they don't know where the Fed policy is going to be. At the same time, he's been raising rates. He's liquidating the balance sheet of the country. It's the tightest monetary policy we've ever seen.
We're headed towards social unrest. That's according to billionaire investor Barry Sternlicht, and he is blaming Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve for destroying faith in capitalism with their ridiculous monetary policy. The billionaire investor said that if the Fed continues raising interest rates, as it's done 5 times this year already, the effects will be so destructive that they will put the entire capitalist system at risk. With forecasting examples of possible scenarios that explain how the rich guy who loses 30% is still rich, but the poor guy who works an hourly job and then loses that job will say, capitalism is broken and it didn't work for me. I lost my job and the system has to go. And this could potentially lead to social unrest. Meanwhile, another economist, Steve Hanke, told Fortune the Fed was incompetent, also saying that we could be headed for a period of stagflation or a deep recession. There are fears that the Fed was too slow to respond to inflation last year as a result, and the risk of a recession is now uncomfortably high. Barry Sternlicht believes that the Fed is basing its decisions to raise interest rates on lagging inflation data, when instead they should be looking at real-time statistics and talking to executives on the ground. You know, the real boots on the ground intel. The billionaire who founded Starwood Property Trust, which owns about 250,000 residential properties nationwide, says that rents are actually slowing across the board, but the Fed is still using old and outdated rent price increases that happened over 6 months ago to calculate the consumer price index. So this is giving the Fed a misleading picture about the true state of inflation in the economy. Perhaps a sign of positivity is that Sternlicht says falling commodity prices is evidence that inflation is beginning to cool. Sternlicht believes the Fed missed their moment to stop inflation back in 2021 when GameStop was at $350 a share and crypto world was worth $3 trillion. So basically, it's too late to fix it now. And the billionaire equates Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve to an analogy of the inmates running the asylum. And he thinks they just may not be smart enough to understand the impact of their actions, and suggests the Fed should pause its rate hikes and wait for the effects to work through the economy before it decides what to do next. And I would suggest getting a hold of some accurate real-time data. And if you're worried and concerned about your job and the future of such, as far as what will actually happen with the economy and the results of Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve's push for lower inflation, higher interest rates, a slow job market, pain that families and businesses will feel along the way, 1.2 million jobs potentially at risk and lost. And as the Fed tries to tighten up the monetary policy and reduce the amount of money within the circulation of the economy and shrink the balance sheet, then the writing's on the wall, folks. If you're in a position like Walmart or FedEx or any Amazon distribution center, warehouse, if you're in a role, I'll just put it this way. If you're in a role that could ultimately be completed and accomplished by a computer, by a robot, by technology, by some millennial in an office writing a program to replace you, then you are at risk. Now, this is an evolutionary cycle. This is a business cycle. And this is part of growth. If you want to make an omelet, you got to break some eggs. But with that being said, it doesn't mean you have to fall to the wayside. So you can always look for other employment and other income producing opportunities. But at the same time, if I was going to do that, then me personally, I would probably be looking to align myself with the employment and income producing opportunities that would closely fall in line with tech, the digital market, and aligning myself to be a valuable component of the future of business, which is more than likely going to be centered around digital technology, online orders, self-checkout, AI, automation, robotics, and technology. With that being said, food is going to be a major component, and I have some very important information to bring to you guys about the future of food and how it's going to impact your ability to earn your income either later today or on the next live stream with Squirrel Tribe and I. So you guys make sure you catch that one when it goes live. You guys take care, be safe. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.
But they should understand where the inflation came from. It came from all those global stimulus packages on the back of a reopening global economy. And it was to the moon and beyond. They missed the meme stocks, they missed the casino. And now that we're building momentum and people are getting employed and wages are rising, now they want to stomp on the whole thing and end the party.